There is nothing like a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. For those that don't know, the cell is essentially a cage match taken to a whole new level. It's a steel structure with multiple cells within it. There are cells suspended above the ring. There's a roof. There's a lot of ways for this match to end. But there's one more thing about this match that makes it even more special, which we'll get to in a moment. The match took place in 2007 and pitted two of the biggest WWE superstars against each other at that point in time. The Undertaker and Triple H, he would berate and make fun of both Triple H and The Undertaker. So why did Shawn Michaels interfere? Was it to cost the match for The Undertaker? Was it to cost the match for Triple H? Don't believe us. Well, listen to what he said. When I showed up that night, it was literally like an ending. I knew my role. They were the two biggest stars in the company, and they were in the main event. It was an emotional affair, not just for the audience, but for the wrestlers themselves. It was the passing of the torch moment. But it wasn't just that either. It was the end of an era. They had been rivals for years, and they had put their bodies on the line every single time they stepped foot into the ring. They had made fans bleed, and they had made fans cheer. They had made people laugh and cry. They had done it all. And now it was time for them to pass the torch to the next generation. I knew it was kind of my duty to go out there and show them respect. The Undertaker knew that he might never wrestle a Hell in a Cell match again. That's understandable considering that he had only competed in 3 of them up until that point. Yes, the same Mike Chiavetta that was knocked out cold by Brock Lesnar a few weeks ago on SmackDown. We talked about it a lot, and we knew that that night was gone. Be a monumental night. Not only in our careers, but probably in the history of wrestling. I think it will go down as one of the greatest moments in sports entertainment history. Chiavetta was the 3rd man in the ring that night, and he was tasked with keeping order. Well, if you're watching this video, then you're part of the WWE Universe, and you can decide for yourself. And we couldn't wait for the day when we get to witness another Hell in a Cell match like this one. I knew it was going to be their night. I knew it was probably the last time they were going to headline a WrestleMania, and he did an excellent job considering all the chaos that was unfolding around him. Now back to the video. Even when Shawn Michaels got involved and sent both men packing, Chiavetta stayed in the ring and kept counting. Both men had put their bodies on the line to entertain the WWE Universe for decades, and that shouldn't be forgotten. I had mixed emotions, but in the back of my mind, I also knew it was kind of my night too. During an interview, Triple H discussed the emotion that he felt during the match. Said, "I think it was an amazing moment." Obviously, the emotion of the situation, you could just feel it. You could feel it coming. It was kind of like you could see it coming from a mile away, and then boom, it hits you. Well, the answer actually goes beyond that. But at the end of the day, they knew that they were entering the twilight years of their careers. In fact, they knew it better than anyone else. At that point in time, Triple H had already undergone multiple knee surgeries. And as for The Undertaker, let's just say his body had seen better days. Really belittling both men and reminding them of their past accomplishments, while claiming that he was the one that should have been in the main event instead of them. In fact, it's hard to believe now, but The Undertaker would only compete in 4 more WrestleMania events after this one. One of those was a tag team match where he teamed up with Triple H to take on Shawn Michaels and The Big Show. It was a Hell in a Cell match, just like their previous encounter. Well, Shawn Michaels would eventually return from injury, but not without costing Triple H and The Undertaker their Hell in a Cell match. This was the main event of WrestleMania 23, and if you're asking how good the match was, well, you can watch it here. During an interview with Steve Austin, The Undertaker himself said, "You could just tell that we were in that moment together, and it felt right. I couldn't think of a better scenario than the 3 of us in that ring. Shawn came out, and I knew in my heart that's what was supposed to happen. It didn't feel like we were burying anybody. It felt like we were just acknowledging that we're at a different place in our careers. But what matters most is not so much the result of the match, but rather what happened after. This was an emotional Hell in a Cell match. The 2 men beat the hell out of each other for over 20 minutes inside the cell. But at the end of the day, it wasn't just a match for them. It was almost like a passing of the torch moment. We'll explain what we mean by that in a moment. After the grueling match, after The Undertaker had defeated Triple H, and after the cell had been destroyed, these 2 men who had given everything, they had left in the tank in the middle of the ring, stood together, and looked up at the entrance stage as the person responsible for ending their era made their way into the ring. That person was none other than Shawn Michaels. Now, if you remember this period of time in WWE history, you might recall that Shawn Michaels had been feuding with both Triple H and The Undertaker, although his biggest issues were with Triple H. Shawn Michaels had turned heel at the previous year's WrestleMania and had aligned himself with the villainous group known as the Corporation. It seemed like Shawn Michaels was finally going to be the one to take out Triple H, but he suffered an injury that forced him to vacate the WWE Championship. At the time, Michaels was unable to compete, but he was still very much involved in storylines. In the end, it didn't matter because the match had already ended. Shawn Michaels was making sure that neither man won because he knew deep down that he was the last man standing of their generation. Triple H and The Undertaker have accomplished so much during their careers. Still, they continued to perform at the highest level, but they knew that they were close to retirement. So what does this all mean? Well, what we're trying to illustrate is that this Hell in a Cell match was unlike any other. And if you think we're exaggerating, well, think again. It was the end of an era because this trio had been through it all. But that doesn't mean it was easy. After all, it's not easy letting go, especially when you've spent your entire life doing something. And as for Triple H, well, he would actually never compete in another Hell in a Cell match. And we can't talk about this match without mentioning the legendary referee, Mike Chivetta. It was his job to ensure that Triple H and The Undertaker didn't destroy each other. But before we move on, make sure you guys subscribe because there is no better way to pay tribute to these legends than to support their fellow wrestlers who are carrying the torch today. Even though the match itself was violent and extremely painful, it was also beautiful. If that sounds crazy, just ask Triple H. He went on to say, "The three of us are very close friends." What do you guys think? Is Triple H right? Will this moment in time forever be remembered as one of the greatest in sports entertainment history? As for us, we'll say yes. It will be remembered for years and years to come. If you enjoyed this video, then check out some of our others. We're pretty sure you won't regret it.